I'm delighted to welcome Smita Tharoor in today's wonderful show because she is the famous podcaster of Stories Seldom Told that are now being listened to in 115 countries. I, of course, know Smita as the wonderful person that taught me the nuances of unconscious bias. She came and trained our entire organization on it. But other than all of this, I'd love for her to tell you in just one quick short phrase maybe, what is unconscious bias, Smita?
Thank you for inviting me to be part of this conversation for your YouTube channel. And also, I'm just very excited and impressed and in awe of what you are doing, Ranjini, because the idea of championing women where this is what we should be doing all over the world. I wish other people could think the way you are thinking. The fact that we need to think about women, champion them, and expect them to understand and appreciate their own powers and therefore empower them. So, simply put, what is unconscious bias? And I'm specifically speaking to all of you women. I'm championing you because all of you, including me and Ranjini, have unconscious biases. Essentially, we have biases that we don't know that we have. And what's a bias? A bias is a preference. Simply put, a preference for or against something. So, if I could be very simple, it could be, for example, that you have an unconscious bias that when you are in the presence of a team where it's a majority men, you find it a bit frightening to open your mouth. Research has been done on this. Whereas, if on the other hand, the number of women increased in your team, you will automatically be more engaged and more involved. But this is unconscious. You don't know that you are self-limiting yourself purely because of the fact that there are more men in your room.
Wow, what a great example, because all of us women go through this and we're thinking, why am I suddenly more comfortable now? We didn't realize that was what was stopping us. So maximizing potential is our big thing here as a goal. So how can I go from an unconscious bias to an inclusive mindset?
Organizations, in your teams, in your departments, in wherever you are. And so what does that then look like? You have to listen, genuinely listen without bringing in your judgment, genuinely look and appreciate and understand without bringing in your assumptions.
You're almost talking about it like a spiritual journey in a professional situation and in an organization. I love it, Smita, because it talks to my inner self. So there are 4 sides of the brain, 4 characters that live in our brain. This is the newest offering we've been working on in ChampionWoman. We call it whole brain leadership. Jill Bolte Taylor, the Harvard neuroscientist, guided and mentored us with her book, Whole Brain Living. And with that, we brought it into the leadership spectrum saying, wait a minute, are you thinking about what made you just say or do something? Was it your right brain that is pausing or your left brain that's pushing you? So I know you are an NLP practitioner too. How important is it to have mindfulness and awareness to pause every time as we go forward?
So a few things in there that you've said, Ranjini, and I want to kind of pass them and respond to each, if you like. Sure. One is this whole idea of whole brain and left and right. And I'm saying, hey, forget about the left and right, think of the front and back. Because the front of your brain is the slow, new neocortex brain, as Daniel Kahneman, the psychologist, says. The back brain is, and these are his words, not mine, the reptilian brain, or the slow, or the fast brain. And so we have a fast brain and we have a slow brain. Now, both of these brains are very, very, very crucial in any kind of things, any kind of judgments we make or any kind of strategies we organize or plan or any of that. But what we tend to do, and the more senior you are within the workspace, the more what you tend to do is you rely on your back brain, the fast brain, because you have something called a cognitive bias that is called an overconfidence bias. I have been working for the last 25 years. I know what I'm doing. I have good instinct. And therefore, I know if I do this will work. And that's exactly what I will do again. So what I'm asking you to do instead is slow down. Bring your front brain into action instead of your back brain and stop and slow and give yourselves the luxury of time, which hopefully you will have, and then look at the entire project again and say, Is this what I should be doing? Is this how I should be doing it? You also talked about spirituality. And what is spirituality if you think about it? I mean, it's us. It's humanity. It's how do we connect with other human beings. It's not about anything more than that. You know, you don't ever have to go to the temple or the mosque or the church, and you can still be a deeply spiritual person. You may say, I'm an atheist, and you can still be a deeply spiritual person because you're connecting with another human being. And you are connecting with them as another human being. That's it. And you're genuinely speaking to them without those judgments and those assumptions and the backstory that you are carrying because of some previous experience. That's all I'm saying.
That's fantastic. Wow. So we have to be resilient though, because as we are carrying these backstories, they pop up every now and then.
They certainly do.
Yeah. So is there a story in your life where maybe your own recipe of resilience helped you overcome a challenge?
I want to share two different stories, completely different stories of resilience. This first story was about 25 years ago, and I was a new employee in a company that will remain nameless. This was in London before I started my own company, maybe 30 years ago, yeah, easily 25 years ago. And I went into work, and there was a woman in the offices, I'm not going to mention her name in case she sees this video, who for whatever reason took one look at me and disliked me. I mean, it's a strong word, but that's how I felt. And in terms of hierarchy, actually, I was slightly senior to her. But what she would do is she would complain to her line manager, who would tell my line manager, who would then call me up and talk to me and explain. Actually, maybe 30 years ago, this story, it's a whole story. Anyway, so much so that I would be going into work every day, just upset, and it was dragging me down. And then I decided I can't handle this. What am I going to do? Shall I just resign? Because I don't want to have to go into work every day and have this kind of tension. And I don't know from where, but I seemed to get the wisdom, and I said, I know what I'm going to do. When I go into the office tomorrow morning, I'm going to make this person my new best friend. That's the phrase I used.
Bravo.
That's the phrase I used. And I actually remember saying that to myself. And I went into the office and I said, hey, hi, I'm going to just use your name. You know, hi, Ranjini. How are you? Oh, that's a nice dress you're wearing. Where did you get that from? And this lady would look at me like I was mad. I was like, where is she coming from? Because this was many weeks, by the way, of this drama that was going on. And over a period of time of my being genuinely positive and kind and forthcoming, she started changing. So to me, that is a story of resilience, because I was really beginning to break down a little bit, and I thought, no, I'm not going to allow it to happen. And I turned it around, and she didn't ever become my new best friend, but she became friendly enough. And then a few years later, 2 years later, she confided in me that she was going through a very messy divorce at the time that I joined the company. Now, we don't know other people's stories, and we make assumptions that if somebody is horrible to us, it's all about them being horrible to us and I don't like you, and then things get out of hand. Instead, if we thought that maybe she has a story, that really taught me the idea of all of us come with our stories, and we need to acknowledge that and maybe just not get things down and make assumptions based on somebody else's story that you don't know about. And the second story, which is completely different, my husband and I were in Albania, driving from A to B, and we were in a head-on car collision. We were very lucky to be alive, and yet to have the presence of mind to think differently. It can be done. I'm not exceptional. All of you listening to this can also do it. You want close relationships, don't take it for granted. You have to work at it. And that's what all three of us do and continue to do. You're 18 years old, you haven't got a clue what you're going to do in your career. But do something you love.
Champion a woman, she will build the nation.